Maaliwalas na araw to all our viewers. This is Ami Mantaño and I will be your host for this episode. As educators geared towards the new normal setup, it is important that they utilize skills in order to sustain the engagement and attention of our students. Our guest for this episode will share with us teaching and hosting for Gen Zers. Our guest is attorney Jude Jose La Torre. He is a trial lawyer by profession. He is also an academic administrator, professor, volunteer, trainer, and coach. Let us all welcome Professor Jude. Maaliwalas na araw! Maaliwalas na araw, Attorney Jude.
Kumusta? Having a nice day. I hope that you're doing well. Likewise.
Yes, we are so happy to have you here in our show. Can you tell us more about your topic for today for our viewers?
I'd like to share with my fellow faculty or other persons who are interested that what I'm doing is hosting a class, so it doesn't sound as heavy or as forbidding as a classroom session. And this is my third trimester where I'm doing it online. It's a crash course. But I found certain things which are effective in how to hold the students' attention. You're having a classroom session, but it's online and virtual. And I found that there are certain techniques which work best for the students. I had my third synchronous session for this term last night. All of them were present and they were so interactive. I was having fun. My students likewise.
Oh, we look forward to hearing from you. So take it away, Attorney Jude.
Can I share my PowerPoint?
Yes, you may.
All right. Is the size too big or do I need to adjust? Okay, here. This is how I start my session. So I have a visual, and this is free from Pixabay, so I'm not violating any copyright. And I just fancy myself as a host. My inspiration are the shows hosted and led by the likes of James Corden, Jimmy Fallon, and the other entertainers who are very informative at the same time very funny. So here is how it is. Actually, there's a script. Oops, 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 oops. Oops, sorry about that. There's a script which I follow. And this is what I called as the sequence flow. So I start with, hello, good evening. How are you? Welcome to tonight's episode of the Bintaxa Show. Okay. And then, all right, come on, people. Let's say hi to each other, but it'll be different. This time, the question for the week is if it's not your family or your friend, who's the person who would you like to spend the night with after this class? Okay. And then give me the reason. And surprisingly, they were giving me names I don't know. And a lot of them are celebrities. And it's very informative on my part because I'm trying to find out what their interests and their personalities likewise. And then we start with, okay, let's have our photo op so that we can document as to who is in this session for now. And I always have what is called as a theme. Like last week, it was, okay, give me the maangas look. So it's kind of funny. And then this week, it's give me a pose wherein you're a commercial model and they're shooting you for a video wherein you have to laugh out loud. So in that case, I'm trying to lighten the mood. Then after that, I start with a very short lecture, about 10 minutes. And this is topic number one. Last night, it was the 7 tax attributes. So in addition to me talking, I have to share the screen with a slide deck because my students are members of Gen Z and they also like to see visuals. Then after that, just to assess whether they have understood the lesson, I say, okay, I'm flashing here about 5 questions. Can you answer the question and go to Big Sky, which is our learning management system? So in this case, that's about 10 minutes. And after they have their own answers, because everyone gets to recite, only it's online. And then we uh, meet again, cameras on, because when they were answering, it's cameras off. So if you take notes, in this case, there's a time frame. This is just a guide. I'm not so strict. You can observe that I play it by ear. Sometimes it will be shorter. Sometimes it could exceed. But what's important is that they are able to observe and be guided with our schedule. So we'll be able to finish our session and our objectives are met. Then after that, we have what is called as the random recitation. We meet again. Right. What's your answer? What's your answer? But I'm trying here to be so supportive. I'm not the type who will, let's say, humiliate if the answer is wrong. So I use certain techniques. For instance, all right, try again. Scaffolding. Or if it's going to take a little longer, then I encourage him, why don't you call a friend in that case? Or I'll go back to you later. All right. So then the entire session here, that is lecture, very short. And then they try to answer in the learner management system. And then we go back so we can have a class discussion wherein it's the student who will now be talking. It's only about 15 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes. And I broke it down so that the attention span is still in there. Because remember, people have this attention span of about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So here, the technique is to sequence it and make it shorter. At the same time, they will be listening, alternating with an activity wherein they will do some thinking and they will try to figure out the answers to questions. Then again, it's kind of heavy depending on the topic. So I have to break it again. And therefore, based on my script last night, at 6:41 to 6:45, in a matter of 4 minutes, I have to bring in something light. And that was the posting of our class photo last week, which was based on the theme, Give Me the Maangas Look. And then I posted it. They were laughing. They were so amused at their classmates and at themselves. And as a surprise, what I did was also to place there by the end of the slide deck who are the winners for best models for that week. And that was a surprise because I never announced it. Afterwards, we now go to topic 2 because the mood is lightened. And therefore, that prepares them for the next one, which is topic 2. This time, it was about the kinds of taxpayers. So I also supported my talk with slide decks. I make it very attractive. So their attention is also cold to the graphics and the text. And then what I do is I post again 12 questions, and that's quite long for one person. So I broke them into groups. I told them, all right, find your groups, go to Big Sky, which is our learning management system, and try to answer 2 questions if you are 5 and 6 in the group. In each group, you will be able to finish answering all questions in a matter of 5 to 8 minutes. Then after that, check the answer of at least two of your classmates. So you'll have discussions on your own. See, because there's also a need to foster interaction between and among the students. Then after that, I again call them 716 people, 716, come on, cameras on, okay? Because when they were answering, it's cameras off. But at 716, it's opening of the camera wherein we have now a entire class discussion. And because they were able to answer on their own, it's not spoon feeding, and it's the time wherein I will do random recitation, but at the same time still very nice. Like, what's the answer for number two? Oh, try again in that case. So here, they're more confident because there's a time given for them to think, at the same time to write down, and in an atmosphere wherein the recitation is random, yet because it's not what you call as pressure filled, because there's a way of handling recitation wherein I can elicit answers but still make them feel comfortable. So we're able to accomplish a lot. And there's one technique wherein I tell them, people, mark your time or watches. 7:16, you must be back inside our classroom, and then open your camera. So how would I make them come back based on that time? We have surprises, which I call as the hot set consequences. Like you may be asked to sing or dance, or I'll give you a challenge. It's a very fun way, but yet again, because students think that it's kind of a penalty, although it's not, it's actually what is called as an enforcement mechanism, then he will still come back. So that leaves me with the last 3 minutes, wherein I will recap and I will answer some more questions. Since there could be more questions, I told them, why don't you just message or email me, or we can have a one-on-one after this class so I can discuss more the answers to your questions. And then I announce very important notices. For instance, okay, tomorrow I'm going to update or upload the exercise which you have to answer, and that is for the asynchronous part. So actually, this online show is really part of what I called as the synchronous session, and it complements the asynchronous session because I upload modules, and the modules will be composed of the materials, the slide decks, the links to certain sites, additional reading materials, the exercises, and all other things that they need to submit so that they can comply with the requirements of that particular module. So the online class is a way wherein I also try to establish a human presence, and they will have what is called as a sociable session because they will be interacting with each other and they will be seeing each other. But the technique there is to segmentize so that each one segment is not more than 10 or 15 minutes, and it's shifting between the professor talking while it will be alternated by the students discussing. So there are moments wherein the cameras will be on and the cameras will be off. It's also a combination wherein a heavy topic, like a lecture, will be followed by something light, like an icebreaker. So in a way, in the 1.5 hours, it's not so heavy, and they don't get to get bored because it's really designed so that they will be interactive, and at the same time, they will have fun in the process. I'll just show you something. This is part of the module which I upload, and you can see that it's very visual. In fact, I utilize a lot of infographics. Right now, I'm in the process of mastering how to make videos because Generation Z is really into it. And on my part, it's a way wherein I can likewise upgrade my abilities and teaching skills. This is another example as part of the module. So at the beginning, I already set the schedule so we can have our pacing, and the students will have an overview as to how we will be tackling the term. And at the same time, each module is scheduled for 2 weeks. So it's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous session. And at the same time, it's a mix of activities which are carefully chosen so that they can maximize their learning at the same time, not get bored because it's always different. Here, I also upload on the learning management system a schedule so that they can pace themselves. But from time to time, when I check, for instance, compliance, and I see that some of them have not yet submitted, what I do is I email or message, but it's in a tone wherein I make them accountable. For instance, in my email, I'll write something like, the records do not show that you have submitted your exercise. Any reason why? And what do you think you can do about it? How will you make yourself accountable? And usually the students will respond. And it's not always like that because sometimes I will commend the student, this is very good work. Can I show this? Can I get your consent so that your output, I can upload this and then I can have comments there why this is a very, very good example. So it's calling the attention at the same time praising student work. So I really alternate uh, in those techniques. And this is another example of the part of the module so that how they will be able to get their grade. We have the exercise, we have the reflection, and we have the integration. Number 1 and 2 are really formative because it's only a way of checking whether they understand the concept. And I like to give them opportunities wherein they get to practice. At the same time, they also get to reflect. The last part is integration. And this is really the summative assessment part. Okay. This is an example of a slide deck I use. It really helps that the teacher will have to translate or interpret technical words into layman's level, wherein it's substantive, but at the same time, it's clear so that they can get the concept. And I make sure that it's a combination of pictures and text. I'm getting to be an expert in infographics. Okay, let's move on. Here's an example of a question I posed during the online show because the other week we were discussing the forms of income and the way to determine if they have absorbed the lesson is to have situations. Here, in the discussion, I said that income can come in 3 forms: cash, property, or service. And remember that the value of all of this should be considered in assessing how much is the income tax payable. Usually, people will have the notion or idea that it's only cash. No, I said in law, you must also include the value of property and services being given as part of the payment for the services. But what I do is I put a twist. It's so easy to answer if the situation I will give is that of Vicky Bello, because you can easily answer cash property by way of our beauty products and services by way of this facial and other beautification, beautifying services being offered by her clinic. But this one, I made it something amusing because the situation I gave them is Loyola Memorial Chapel and Crematorium. So you can just imagine when they were opening or reading this, and they were amused and smiling while answering because the answers could be quite morbid. However, I also added here what is called as a question which calls for a divergent answer. Suppose you are the role model, or you are the influencer, or a famous blogger who is being asked to become the image model for this company. Will you accept? Now, that one calls for answers which are both business-like and at the same time common sense. And they were giving me divergent answer, which I've said, it's okay. How come? Because there are certain answers wherein you can have it differently stated compared to your classmate. But what I'm looking for is the reasoning in this case. Right? Okay, and then I likewise share with you this one. This is another example. Yeah, I asked this last night because we were discussing the different kinds of taxpayers, and it's very technical. And to make sure that they understand, it's also my way of doing formative assessment, checking on the understanding. Then I posted this. They will have to answer by groups in the discussion forum of the learning management system, which we have in Binil as we called it Big Sky. So here, of course, Ateneo de Manila University is an example of a domestic corporation, but I put there certain items which really call for common sense. Like number seven. Number seven here is a character in Doraemon, and therefore the answer here should be an A, not applicable. And I try to make it as contemporary as possible. Example, Conor McGregor is a mixed martial artist. And likewise, Amanda Gorman, she got a lot of positive views after she recited her poetry during the inauguration of President Biden. Okay, so here they answer in the learning management system, but since they also like that it's very visual, then I make this slide decks. All right, so just to summarize, how do I implement the online show hosting, just like it's a talk show, to make it interesting for Gensers? I use the understanding by design framework. So I start with what's the end goal? What do you want the students to acquire at the end of the session? And then how will I gauge whether the students were able to show that they have understood the topics? And the last one, what are the activities? And in number two, just by way of summary, I take note of how the talk shows do it. It's fun. The host is very likable, sometimes lovable. So I try to approximate that. And then divide it into segments. Attention span, remember? And then have breaks, have humorous instances, and at the same time have a good mix of being entertaining and at the same time educational. So it's what is called as infotainment. And take note likewise, make sure that the students will be very active. So you go to number 6, among other things that I do is I vary the way that they are going to answer. So I use a lot of these features in the learning management system, like chat box, or even in Google Meet or Zoom or Jamboard, verbal, like they recite orally, and or I use the survey, or I have what is called as a practice quiz, because that's a feature in learning management system, even like Google Classroom. And also, I'm using this principle in the zone of proximal development, especially in very technical terms or topics. I try to give examples or discussions wherein students can easily get that, because it could be they have experienced that, or they have come across that before. But at the same time, I put a certain leveling up, because there must be a challenge. It will be something new. So here, I'm trying to touch on the fact that it's not totally abstract for them, but there is a certain step wherein they understand the concept because of that, and then connect that with the new concept. Okay, then I alternate cameras on, cameras off. Sometimes it's the teacher who will be discussing, and then sometimes it's the student. And then I segue from the heavy topic to something light or funny or a game. And then when the mood is lightened, then we go back to the lesson. Okay, so here, what are some of the techniques that I utilize for my online show, games, humor, visuals, surprises, random recitation, challenges, then very short videos, and then digital links. For instance, uh, when they check on Amanda Gorman, some of them may not have heard about her yet. Then in that case, they check or they Google it. But at the same time, it's not as simple as that, because they still have to analyze where is she coming from, what does she do, where is her income coming from, what is her nationality. So in that case, they get to classify and sort under which type of taxpayer she is and what's the implication. Okay, so far so good. And right now, I'm thinking again as to what will be my surprise element by next week. I have been seeing a lot of very good feedback from my students. It's really a matter of designing and thinking and trying to think of our customers, our students, how to make the lessons very fun, but at the same time, still with depth. How to transform students from being passive into the interactive kind of learners. Okay, thank you very much. I hope I'm able to give you certain pathways on how to conduct the online session. So the virtual classroom is as enjoyable and as fun and as educational as can be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Jude, for sharing with us your expertise this afternoon. And we hope that our viewers was able to take down notes of the things that they can include in their online session with the students. Anything that you would like to add, most especially in terms of what have you learned from all the sessions that you had with the students in terms of utilizing all of this um, way of engaging them in the
Okay.
class?
It has certain challenges, the digital classroom, but I realized that we can find ways to humanize, even if it's so technical and technological. There are certain ways that we can do it. And among my realization, why don't I do it like it's a talk show? Because I enjoy watching these nightly talk shows. And so because of that, oh, I can transfer or transform some of the things they're doing and make that it's like my class. Because there are certain things there. For instance, these segments, they're very short, about 10 to 15 minutes. And remember, attention span is likewise limited to human beings. And likewise, have fun. Because if the mood is light and it's very supportive and at the same time very enjoyable, then students are more receptive to what you are saying and they are more cooperative in the activities. And most of all, make sure that the atmosphere has what I call, as what people say, as psychological safety. That is, all right, don't be afraid to make mistakes because it's part of learning. If you have an error, no, I'm not going to castigate or scold you, but rather I'm going to help you find a way to answer it, like scaffolding. Like I would say, why don't you try it again? How about if you do this? See, and if students sense that it's a very supportive environment and it's okay, because I haven't seen students, all right, raise hands. Remember, there's an icon, the hand raised,
Yes.
and then to make sure that they're on their toes. I will do what is called as random recitation. And then sometimes I will be doing what is called as a joke. Remember, all right, all right. You have to take responsibility. You were not able to answer this. Okay? So, your challenge is to act like a model for Loyola Memorial Park. And you have to say this line. Ang aming hanap buhay ay hanap patay. Okay? Say it in the most engaging way possible. And the classmates were laughing because it was a joke, but at the same time, it was fun. And they're always looking forward to it. In fact, before this, I was checking because I wanted them to come up with blogs as introduction. At the same time, our topic last week was about income earned by bloggers, content creators, which is very contemporary. I told them, hey, some of these bloggers are not college graduates, but they have something of value to offer the world. See, it's one option that you may want to think rather than having a 9 to 5 job. And so we had to do a simulation. So I did, okay, make a microblog. Okay, not less than 2 minutes, not more than 5 minutes. Then upload that on YouTube. Make it anonymous for privacy concerns. However, post the link in our learning management system, which is Big Sky, and comment on at least 3 classmates. I remember having fun, including me, when I was checking their blog. And it's so contemporary because generation of the student which I'm having are very good with technology. So it's a matter of identifying what are present right now, how we can connect that to our lesson such that students become engaged, but at the same time, the teacher will still be there as an authority figure, but an authority figure is very supportive. Because I always tell them, okay, no. Okay, you must always challenge yourself. That's what I learned from one author of Flow. He said, after you master this, go to the next level. And you have to get out of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you're not learning anything new. Actually, I'm doing that to myself, especially in studying this year how to make a video. And I'm rather proud because it was self-study. Who was my tutor and assistant? Google, okay? YouTube, okay? So it's just like what they're doing. I myself do not know a lot of things. So I'm using technology.
So thank you so much, Attorney Jude. And we
My pleasure, my pleasure.
hope to see you again in our future show. Thank you so much. And maaaring sa
Stay
araw.
safe, be well, and be purposeful. Okay, that's what I have learned in this pandemic. Just to keep myself on the ground. I always try to think of what somebody wrote. Be directional, not drifting. And then it led to a lot of things, including using talk show, this late night talk show, as a way wherein I can engage my students. And
Thank
thank
you
you, Ami. Thank you, Ami.
so much.
Uh,
Bye. Thank you, Attorney Jude, for sharing your time and expertise. To our dear viewers, let us remember to begin with an end in mind. And remember, be clear with our purpose. Thank you and see you again in our next episode.